morning, Anambra, and we are here to discuss a very important topic of building a new value system for leadership in Nigeria. When we look at the system of leadership in our nation, Nigeria, we know how it used to be and what is obtainable today in Nigeria. So I don't know your opinion about leadership in our nation, but if you were born in the 80s or you were there in the 70s, 80s and 90s, I don't know, you'll be in a better position to really talk about whether we still have values or no values in our leadership today. But we're going to find out that on this platform this morning. My name is Nonya Mokoye.
And I'm Ajuluchuku Okabwe, still talking about Nigerian value system, if it still exists, of course, to a certain extent, I would say, because this is a country rich in culture and diversity. What is obtainable in some parts of the country might not be obtainable in some parts, even though across board of that ethnicity, we are still divided on religious grounds. So we have a whole lot to talk about the value system and then how we can build on that on leadership in this country.
And of course, we've been joined by a public affairs analyst, Ifani Okekadibo Ogono Ebunam. It's good to have you. You're welcome to the studios of Good Morning Anambra show today.
It's a pleasure being here. Well, we are here.
All right. Now, when we talk about, let's start. Our topic says building a new value system for leadership in Nigeria. When we talk about value or value system, what does that entail?
Well, we take them bit by bit. First, what is value? Before you start building, you must know. One of our holy books says, will a man ever start building without first sitting down to add together what he wants to do? And then, in fact, that is a bone of contention because most times we delve into things without plans. So first, let's know what is value. And then, after value, we talk about system. Because these two issues, I think, are the bane of the issues we have in this country. Do we have a system where we have stronger individuals than stronger institutions? Invariably, Benjamin comes to turn the table the other way, Emmanuel comes and then put it the other side. So by the time you put all these things together, begin to ask yourself, do we really have a system? Then if we have a system, what is the system? Then what are the values? You know, you go to corporate companies, you see them, my core value is this, my that, and then when you put all those things together and then look at what is happening in that company, you begin to ask yourself, am I mad or they are the same? Because they are two different opposites. A typical example, it's abominable in all tribes of Nigeria for a man and a woman to cohabit without properly being called man and wife. But today, what do we see? So you ask yourself, where is the value? The concept then of Ezia Fakiego, where is it today? These, I think, were the values we're talking about. Nkedini Ruka, having hope. Then, one of the biggest axioms that makes you laugh, especially in the context of Nigeria, is the patient dog eat the fattest bone. Well, worry boys will tell you the patient dog hunger go kill him because he no go ever reach in hand. So when you put all these things together, and then you begin to ask yourself, where really are the values? The core values of patience, the core value of regard for human life. You know, where our security agencies will just tell you that 17 persons only died. Are you expecting more to die? No regard for life. The sacred nature that virtually all the ethnic nationalities in Nigeria fear the concept of killing. But today, what do we see? We wake up every morning to see liters of human beings. In fact, on one day to anyhow. You know, and we will have death to kill. In fact, some even devil and death will say, no, me, my hand not did this one now, you're doing by myself. So these are the issues. Then, you see today, man and wife will put to bed and have the guts, the effrontery, to sell that child for as low as 200,000. 200,000. You sell a human.
So in essence, what is values? Value.
Value systems are the rudiments upon which a society exists. That is passed from generation to generation for the upkeep of that society. And once that values erode, you build on nothing and don't stand.
And people still get as far as even being punished for traffic offenses in this part of the world. But then the question then I want to ask you is, if building a new value system for leadership in Nigeria seems like an utopian dream, then what next do you think we should do?
Well,
how else do we think we should go about it?
I am so concerned that we need a new value system. There's no argument about that. But are we really ready for such? Those are my questions. A country that up till now we don't teach ourselves our history. He who doesn't know his past, how can he fine-tune the future? So, new value system in leadership, very important. But if we must do that, first, let us define what values do we want to build into those who are our future leaders. Secondly, what model do we want to use in building those values? And then thirdly, will those values serve the purpose, just not like our normal development plans that are running differently, our societal demands or economic demands are running differently. So by the time you put the two together, you discover that something is wrong somewhere. There is an urgent need to build or to define what our values are. Then, model that we use to inculcate these values into the upcoming generation. I think at that point, we begin to make some sense. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. Patriotism is gone.
All right, now we're talking about building a new value system for leadership in Nigeria. You know, when you talk about doing something new, that means that something must have happened to the already existing ones, you know. Now, what do you think happened along the line when we compare the leadership of 80s, 70s, 80s, or when we gain independence from the white people that colonized us to where we are today? How do you compare the leadership of those period and the period we are presently in?
In the 80s you're talking about, the word patriotism was revered. Patriotism, that amongst 1,000,001, I is singled out to lead my people. It was more of a vocation, not a profession. Where you have the likes of M.I. Okpara, who managed to have a bungalow. Where I remember my dad, as a civil servant, was officially allocated a motorcycle. Where, at a point, he was given a 504. I remember those days, where people get what they need, what they deserve. Because the leadership then revered patriotism. We must go back to the core, the nucleus of why we are who we are. Because ndị Igbo say na agwọ emelu ife oji bụrụ agwọ, ụmụaka ewere ya kee n'ukwu. We must revert back to the family, the nucleus, because every society starts from the family. Where marriages are conducted, for what purpose? For what purpose? I'm taking up this leadership position. For what purpose? What do I want to achieve? Do I really merit to be there? And not find yourself wherever you can by every means possible. No. So then, we also had a system and a better institution that throws up brighter persons, unlike today. So we must go back to where we started and where we got it wrong. The drive for monetary acquisition, fine, very beautiful. Like I do tell civil servants, even if they are paid 1 million naira, it's not enough. Then we have social welfares. They were assisting in some of these things. They share grains, you know, milk, this, that, those things that actually you need to spend money on. where principals of school have building or reside inside their school, where teachers reside inside schools that they are managing. Not like today, where a teacher in Opono is in Uguaka, you know. So we must come back to those basics. And what are those basics? First, patriotism. We must know that leadership is, so that people will understand it. Leadership is not all about I should be in front. No. What model of leadership do we want? The leader leading from the front or the leader leading from behind? Okay, yeah. So when we define some of these concepts and then begin to look at our national interest, put all of them together, then we begin to have a better drive towards where we want to be.
Now, talking about patriotism, the way you talk about this, you seem to sound as if we are now less Nigerians as the year goes by. Forgetting that you talked about your father's civil service, how he was giving what was due to him, and the rest of it now. Now, civil servant might not be getting what is actually due to them and what it is, and the politicians are getting more than they actually deserve. Now, the question there is, where did we lose
well, we missed it.
Where we missed it, where we lost that patriotism we're talking about. Is it as a result of we being less of asking, leaving everything in the hands of those that are leading us and not being proactive to their actions towards us? Or we just feel that, okay, fine, since we elected these people to be in power, we believe and maybe we can take everything they do to us, hook, line, and sinker. Where do we actually lose it? Because we are still Nigeria in all of these things that we're talking about.
Okay, part of where we lost it is, first, let's look at a country like, is it not Burkina Faso, yes?
Yeah. The military,
you know, yeah, you see persons who are celebrated, do they really want celebrating? And the answer is yes. Sankara came from there. Look at the new man there. And look at what he's
But that is competing in the democratic system.
It's not question of job. Look, yes, he got into power through a means we may not be comfortable with, but he's giving out what he has inside. He is not learning or he's not doing what is cosmetic. It's what is inside. It's that burning sensation that these things can be gotten right that pushed him to power. Even when the system is against that.
Illegally.
Well, it all depends. You can lay, like if we are talking now, do we really continue in this process and then because we want it, how do I put it? Should we continue where we are, what we are doing in the name?
If we choose a system, and say
there must be a pause somewhere.
This is how we choose to govern. This is what our constitution says. If you go contrary to that, you're no longer going to be seen
now
as a messiah. Like you will be seen as a villain.
I'm looking at from your question. Yes. We must have a stop and a rethink. There is urgent need to have a stop and a rethink. And at the point of redefining it, then we find, but first, we must define what we want to do.
Now, do you think there are values in the current leadership in Nigeria that prompted this discussion this morning? Are there things or some values in them that you think, as a person, that should not be there as leaders, that we need to talk about changing them or trying to craft new value system for them? Do you think there is any? If there are, let's actually look at them.
There are. I will look at first our budgeting system.
Okay.
Budget ought to be bottom-up approach, but what we have is up-down approach. To me, which is faulty. The people should decide what they want. Our system should have a change. We cannot sit in Abuja, even when we have representatives there from the Senate and from House of Reps. They are giving what they think they know. A typical example, a child that is in primary school and sees the teacher as the person who appoints you as the class monitor, and they are telling him about democracy. It's alien to him. But if the child from primary 1 has been part of who becomes their class monitor, their class prefect, the school prefect, by voting, So tomorrow when you are telling him we vote for leaders, it will sink naturally to him. It will sink naturally to him, yes. But a child who has known that somebody somewhere appoints, and you tell him to pass through democratic setting, I mean, he will find it very difficult. So these are part of it. Our budgeting system is totally faulty. Our national plan, to me, I don't understand it. What the society needs is not what the plan is giving us. Up till today, our comparative advantages have not been looked into. There's no part of Nigeria that cannot feed itself. Then, the drive for power, the conquest for power, I call it conquest because the person has to do whatever he needs to do to get to power. The conquest for power is something else. It's something else. Then, patriotism, there are still some who are patriotic, but very few. And then, do we really celebrate those who need to celebrate? I remember in the days, for you to be an Ozo title holder, you must have almost become an impeccable character. Today, what do we see there? So, I think some of us need to sit down and then parents also need to manage this situation. Ogbenye di bu ndu ade. Ogbenye di bu ogaranya di. Dike di. Onyo jodi. But when we now want to level everything, onyo oboda ya bodo. I think even nature abhors that. Even nature abhors that. So sometimes when we are doing something, I'm not saying it's right for people to be poor, but let's be honest. From time immemorial, there are some persons who, by virtue of whatever, are where they are. So now, this drive, this pressure on parents upon their kids, unnecessary competition. Today, parents select vocations and professions for their kids, not minding if the child actually is interested. So we're creating a lot of misfits within the society. And those misfits, by the time you collate them, becomes a crisis. I've seen medical doctors who pass through the College of Medicine but never practice medicine one day. So what is the reason? Why waste the child? If this child's interest is in this angle, why not push it? We've seen where teachers who teaching, which normally is a vocation, is turned to profession. Teaching is a vocation. Medical practitioner is a vocation, it's not a profession. You must have that compassion to help people in need. You must have that compassion to be a nation builder before you take up the job of teaching. But today, it's a profession. Anybody comes, do whatever. I'm not saying that it's not nice to professionalize it. No, but even when you're professionalizing them, the core word there should be vocation. Compassion to build future. Not drive for wealth.
And this seems to be lacking in most of our leaders, both in government and, parastatals.
So those are the issues. So what core values do we really want to project? We define it. Then we begin to drive that consciousness into ourselves. Small. You can't give what you don't have. Somebody who has never been part of democracy, you are calling him to come and contest councillor.
And this issue of, a lot of stakeholders have actually called for some time, cut the cost of governance, even Mr. Peter Obi, it formed part of his electioneering campaign in 2023 when he kept saying that the cost is too high. Could this be, as a result of lost values that we see these things in leadership?
For now, leadership is now a means to an end and no more the other way around. Before, leaders, you can see then you have some Zik then, how wealthy was he? Tafawa Balewa then, how wealthy were they? Leadership is service. Until we come down to the society to define, okay, look, these are the various channels we want to develop. The capitalists should be there. They should do their business. I don't have issues with it. Those who have compassion for who have that leadership character and traits, those who come to serve, not minding what they get from it. You can't cut cost of leadership when it's a means to settle some hungry mouths and those who, who joined you in the conquest. So if we are 20 to go for a battle and then we finally won, you will tell me to hold on.
As difficult as it may seem or sound, I believe that things fell apart at some point. This is not the makeup of an average Nigerian. And I think in the next question I have to you for you, Okika Dibo, is it the system that is failing us or the individuals that we have at the ends of affairs of leadership in this part of the world?
I think you have to work on the system. It is the system.
How?
The system is not rigid and strong enough, robust enough to withstand the pressures that come.
Then that means it's because they say the pressure, it's the individuals
The individual
that are there to
is
withstand the
sir,
pressure.
understand this. There is an inherent character in the person to always be better, but whether rightly or wrongly. But if the system is robust enough to put you to size, the system must have to be robust enough.
Who built the system in the first place? Who built the system? Because when you talk about system, trying to make somebody to be whatever, who built the system?
Good. The system is built by the people. There's no argument about that.
Correct.
The system is built by the people for their own good, for their own betterment. In the olden days, at least, let me also be using our traditional Igbo arrangements. Onye kewe ike dị aṅa eje kee nye aka. Why would the system do that? Because they know this is a trait that has to be managed. There are persons whose life is all about conquest, where solo. But the system is there to check that where sokolo, mwekolo. So we must have a robust system.
But when we talk about some things, it makes me go emotional somehow, because this is not the first time people are eager to see Nigeria work again, to see a better system, to see a functional government, to see better leaders. But sometimes, odeka ga si ihe ndị Igbo si no odeka obuna nwamgbe ka mara buko na agoba adironko. You see in our system where a lot of us are leaving the shores of this nation. Some people, you see them mention it, they are tired of or whatever that is going on, We've been trying. People have tried. People have talked about what is going on in the system or the values that needed to be changed. But it seems nothing is working out. Now that we are talking about new values for leadership in Nigeria, how do we go about this whole thing? Or do you think is a possibility? Can we actually achieve it?
Yes, we can.
Okay, let's see.
I have that belief we can. But it's not going to be automatic. I've always shouted about using short-term approaches for a long-term ailment. Now, first, like I said, we define a system. I remember when we moved from the former system of education to 6334, and then to what we have now, there were proper discussions why we have to face technology. And then, secondly, do we really have the will to also effect change? Change is always, change turns a system, upside down. Are we ready for a change? The people must be ready for a change. The people by themselves must be ready for a change. And then each person will also start changing himself voluntarily. The change will not come from thought. I've always argued about that. The change starts from me asking myself some basic questions. What is right? And the funniest thing is that the conscience is always there to guide us.
So
yes.
Your change coming from the top.
Change can't come from the top.
No. Your change coming from the
bottom.
What ripple effect is it going to have?
Good.
Is it to the people that are already there suppressing the masses with their faulty ideologies and policies? How does that trickle down?
Let's
Making a huge difference.
Growing up, we used to go to stream. There is a source in every stream. Now, what is the source in this situation? The home, me, you. We must go to the source and ensure that the water coming out from the source is clean. Least, the whole process is faulty. First, me, myself, and I, ideology, we should look at it properly. The Igbo man is meant to live a communal life. Onye tabilo, onye wannie, onye agana wannie, aye. That's why when we marry, marriage is between a man and a wife, but the community is involved. And I do tell people, marriage is not in the East, in Anambra. Marriage is between two communities and not between two individuals. Marriage is between two communities and not two individuals. Now, when we bring out the core values of our existence, and then begin to drive it back into our children, and not this conquest thing. We agree. In what sense? It is well with you, the pastors preach. When the Bible says it's well for with the righteous, define it to the end. It is well with you. Amen. No. It can only be well with the righteous. So we must sit down as a people and begin to reorient ourselves.
Now you're talking about one part of Nigeria, but we are having a Nigeria
the same
ethnic
is there in every, like I do tell you,
divided across religion,
yes.
Both traditional Islam and Christianity, and even
okay. Let me take the marriage as an instance.
Yeah.
Virtually all tribes, all religion revere marriage. They look at it as a sacred arrangement. In Islam, the marriage is defined or conducted or constituted right inside the mosque with series of admonitions and all what's not. And religious rights. The same goes with the Christians. So invariably, marriage is one thing that is very sacred. Do we revere it?
Okay,
then we come back to how we nurture our children. There's no tribe in Nigeria that does not abhor killings. Ocho, Ibumadi. That's no tribe. But a point came when we now drove ourselves into conquest and then conquering. We have to conquer grounds. Then that concept of conquering and conquest reoriented us to begin to strive. The harder farmer has always existed from time immemorial.
Earlier in
what is the cause of the conflict now?
Earlier in this discussion, there is something that you said, which I know I experienced it as a little child. I was in primary school then, when you said about people getting what they deserve. I will always say it. I think I've said it on a television like this, during May Day, when there was a neighbor then. He was a caterpillar driver in a local government. It's only the children that comes to school with hair made, stockings, and there's no monyo and stuff like that. And they were giving things in bags and cartons of milk from time to time. I saw that happen. Now, when we talk about building new value system for leadership in Nigeria, what has been bothering my mind is who actually is going to build this new value system, and how do we go about it in times like this when we know that or when we see the way things are playing out between the leaders and the led? Who is going to build this new value, and how do we go about it?
Social decisions will change.
Where? In Nigeria?
Yeah,
okay.
Though it's weak.
Okay.
Number one, church is a social institution for change.
Okay.
What are they doing there? We should tell ourselves some truth. The society, the age grades, the umunnes and the umunnas, they are aware in the time past where umada na apotase na nka adroma. Their institutions will change. The age grades, the umunnes, the umunnas, the obos. These are institutions built to revere in our place. And Oboita is a mixture of those at the prime of their youth, who have the energy in anything that's being done. Between you can go gidi na amawa, once it's complete, it's complete. Any addition, they will tell you no.
Because they know the implication.
There will be a boomerang. There will be a boomerang. These are institutions for change. Then, if it's generating heat, the age grades saddled with responsibility of leadership. Immediately, eject off anywhere. If you do I say though we also have seen situations where parents lie, but we'll keep that for another discussion. I say, I never can you see me, and that settles it. And I wish decisions are not taken in the open. Even in Omonna, there are discussions that will come up. I say, Chelo, Bonya, Jen wise. But today, we now see leaders take resolutions. And that was it. And then we know that those people are Jews. Now they are eggheads. People with integrity. They will go out, reason the whole shades, and then come back and say it in the open. It's on the premise of that the leader, looking at what discussions that has come up from the floor and the resolutions coming from the Israeli, he takes a decision. And not this situation where how about now?
Does this have anything to do with influence on monetary aspect?
Sure.
On wealth?
Monetary inducement is there.
So, okay, there are monetary inducement for people to say the truth. Is that what you're saying?
No, in all the days, they are not.
Yes.
It's a honor.
Yeah.
That
The recognition for the family is more important than whatever.
Yes. Then, not now. Then, easier for Kigo. I remember then when I was traveling to Benin for my family held almost a vigil. Biko, Chekwaba fine, Chetebi sepota. But today, what do I tell you? Nailue, no fuma. When the Chetakwe BC pota, when Atala in a walk on or dry or golden opportunity. You see, there are two different things. And those advices have things to do when you want to take a decision as a child. No one has the Lord in a job about one's. So even the Igbo culture understands that some parents push their children into it.
Now, is there a possibility of going back, like you've always advocated here, that we need to go back to what we are used to,
who we are,
what we are known for, good and beautiful value system that we had? Is there a possibility of going back?
There is. What we are doing here is part of it. Mm-hmm. In the olden days, I may see Ben Niapo, they're told no Bilusia, small town. A girl child must be under somebody looking after him. No, Yana, auntie, I know na Lagos to be. But today, reverse is the case. So we should come back to who we are. And who are we? First, with the Igbo man is a communal being. Is a communal being. Even up to marriage, I said, despite the fact no phone na no nyabo wine. But today, what do we see? Munyemo. Iwe balia munyemo. Iwe tie nwami ife. No. Then the nurturing of every child is a community thing. It's a community thing. Everybody is involved to create a child that will keep our cultures and our values in Maketi. Obo can they buy STM?
How do we ensure all of these things that you said into what binds us as a country? That's talking about the constitution. Because what's obtainable in the West is not obtainable in the east, and
But
likewise
the core values are there.
the north.
The core values of okay. A typical example. A typical example. No matter how it was in the olden days, the scuffle between the herders and the farmers has been there. But how many did we record of the volume of killing we have now? Because the conscience is severed. The conscience is severed. That's what happened in Ukwele the other day, where somebody took a machete and looking at a brother, want to open his cranium. Accuse the other Rose. Yes, quarrels will come. It's natural. Disagreements will come. It's natural. But taking it to that extreme, what is the anger that will trigger two brothers? One will pick knife, a well-sharpened cutlass. Then you begin to ask yourself, what has gone wrong?
Okay.
And before elders, it happened. Before a community, it happened. Then the funniest thing, we know more about evil. It's not more there. So until we come back to elders know their duty, the younger ones know their duty. It is just there. The elders should come up to stand on the truth and direct the society.
But most of the leaders we have around are elders. Like in Nigeria, when you talk about the president, our president is no longer a youth. You know, is no longer some of the ministers are in their 60s and 70s. Our traditional rulers here. Our traditional rulers back here.
Are they the best? Are they the best to team?
No, I'm just trying to say that
it's not about age. The system, like leadership recruitment in Nigeria. I thank the House of Assembly for passing this issue of boy again, where people should, you know, it's everybody's responsibility. You know, we shout poverty alleviation, poverty. Poverty has been there, but it's been managed. It was managed. There were processes of managing poverty. In the olden days, not for monetary gains, but for tomorrow, that through you, it's not about money. It's also a core value that so look at this boy issue. I thank the State House of Assembly for bringing it up again. Now look, it's the responsibility of the strong to drive the weak. It is the responsibility of the strong to drive the weak. It's there. It is always there. There must be the weak. There must be the strong. It's not for the strong to now wreck the weak, but rather assist them.
Go about this, in my own opinion, is scapegoating. Scapegoating in the sense that where you see people in authority, you know, let's say, flaunt the existence of a state, no punishment. Best way, begin to think, or maybe think and not
Man. Yeah, I agree with you.
have a very strong system,
Robust.
definitely we will fall in line. As a child, I remember vividly, you understand, very vividly, the flogging. I think that was in primary school. Some boys got at the bus stop because they failed to
Be on the line.
and then there was this war against
The discipline then, yeah.
paramilitary,
White and blue.
No
White
stars,
and
no.
green.
Are you forgetting when you don't go to school? People will come from your classroom to come and carry
You from your mother's lap.
you understand? So that alone will now make that child the following day. You will see the child even abdicating his chores at home and say, let the chores be. When I come back, because he knows the punishment that is waiting for him if he fails to be in class at a certain period. There was a day I was coming back from work. I saw two students of comprehensive. I just saw them around 11 o'clock. I was wondering what were these youngsters doing outside the school premise. So I drove to where they were. And I asked, why are you guys outside? You need to see the way
John, you need to see the way they look. Who is this one talking to?
You know,
And I drop off and I say, wow,
it did not
happened 30 years ago.
I will see an elder with this gray on my head
Talking to me, and I walk past.
No.
So these are the areas where we need to say, where did we actually lose it? You talked about the family
system, which is
the nucleus of where every person, both in leadership, both the ones in prison.
they all came from the family.
But the question
Question is, how do we nip it?
and I still maintain the fact that having a very
Strong
strong
system, a system that obeys nobody, a system that says, okay, fine, the traffic light is for every person, and you don't see a president or a governor's convoy,
pushing people all around to break traffic. If you get
this
is for drivers now,
if you're in traffic and then you see
see the vehicle of the governor coming with all the
siren and then the
paraphernalias of office, and they queue right behind you. Sincerely speaking, tomorrow,
you won't violate traffic lights.
I'm telling you, it will sink
Into your mindset immediately.
because you said if this can stop a governor, then who am I?
All right, where do we go from here? I think that's the question as we wrap up. Saying that a good value system is going to make the society beautiful and better for everyone, whereas the opposite, where it's going to land us. So where do we go from here as we wrap up the show?
First, I still return back to the churches, the home, and the community. The change must come from within us. The change must come from within us. What are those core values? The core values of patriotism, the core values of Ezia Fakego, the core values of Echi Dime, the core values of Adam Echiama should guide our decision making right from the home. Then, the way and manner upon which we conduct our marriages should drive, because anything built wrongly produces
Faulty foundation.
Faulty foundations. What is the concept between that man and woman who wants to marry? What do they want to produce for the society? Vagabonds or children? I'm not as Wenezi Akwango marriage that we have now. People should revere a girl child. A male child should revere a girl child. A girl child should revere a male child. Never should they two be equal.
All right.
At every point in time, must know who takes the lead on this and on that.
We can actually go on and on, but this the much time could allow us to take on the program. Would like to thank you so much, Ogone Bunam, for being here and being so vocal. Thank you so much for your time this beautiful day.
It's myself,
And as we leave you, we're going to leave you with street walk to see or understand more what people feel about our discussion this morning.
There are so many lapses. They've left so many things undone in the past, and the thing has decimated the society. It has spoiled the society. So I doubt if they will regain the trust again from the common man. And for them to do that, it's going to take some years. It's going to take them a lot of things. The end thing is trust. The people don't have trust on our leaders any longer. They will tell you another thing, they're doing another thing. Somebody will say move, he's standing and you are moving. So how do you build trust on such a person? So it's a problem. It's a problem. First of all, we need leaders who can trust. Leaders who can rely on. Leaders who can depend on. Not leaders that have money. Because at times they're being carried away by the kind of money they have. They think everybody is an ant. They don't consider a lot of factors. But if actually one real leaders, we need people that have conscience. Look at the country. Look at the cost of living. And yet somebody is still telling you that it is all well. It's well. So each time every leader, one leader or the other one comes in, the leader will tell you it's going to be well next 2 months. And then that next 2 months, the situation will be aggravated.
By doing what they promise to do. By, for instance, as the governorship election is about to hold on the November of this year, isn't it? Whatever manifesto that they really read out should be done according to how they say.
As you are talking, you do what you talk. You do things that the masses will make you to have trust on you. Not when you talk, you say you do B, you say this is white. When the masses look at it, it's black. When you tell them this is white, it remains white. You say it's black, it remains black. And anything you are doing on their behalf, you make it to be a little bit transparent.